Hey, so there's three things. If I could be in position to do it, there's three things I would want to accomplish. Let's say, for instance, if I were president 4 years of my first term, assuming I'd have two, but I would be good enough in the first one that you guys would want me for a second one. Okay. First term. Three things I want to accomplish. Domestic. Three things. Number one, I want my active military to be exempt from income tax. Maybe some fine points where we look at any rank above 03 or E8, E9, 03 and above would not be. But for your rank and file active military, tax exempt. When you, doesn't now, that's the first one. For the second one, it doesn't matter what rank you are. When you are deployed in a hazardous area, combat, for example,
2 miles ahead, turn left on Kentucky 1958 North Bypass Road.
you will not pay any income tax. Okay? You pay no income tax while you're deployed. This actually becomes easier. You think, well, it's going to be a lot of complicated systems to be in place or something. But actually, this gets simpler as we go, and I'll get to that. And again, staying on the military. So we've got tax exempt status on active military. I'm willing to hear arguments for reservists when they go active. I think that is probably a good thing. For health benefits, following
1 mile ahead, turn left on Kentucky
service
1958 North
with
Bypass
an
Road.
honorable discharge. I'm willing to hear arguments otherwise, but for an honorable discharge, a veteran has health care through the VA or a private sector program, privatized care, subsidized by the VA. Okay. So right now, VA works for veterans with a less than desirable income level. In other words, you got to be poor. You got to be a poor veteran to use the VA. Or disabled. Can't, I'm considered healthy and I have a good job.
Left on Kentucky
I can't use the VA. I'm a veteran. I can't just go in there and say, you know what, I'm running a fever, I got a sore throat, I broke my arm. I can't use the VA. Why not? I think that the VA, Veterans Administration, ought to be available for all honorably discharged veterans. Period. And then I need to do some research, but I want to increase benefits for transition from active duty to private sector employment.
Turn left on Kentucky
I know we've got the
1958
GI
North
Bill.
Bypass Road.
That GI Bill actually expires after a while.
2.7
At least
miles
it did
ahead, take ramp to I-64
when I was,
East.
I think it had a 10-year expiration. I don't like that. I'm not sure what I would like, but I don't like that. I don't like it to expire at all. Again, some sort of incentives for putting that to use to help in transition from active duty to private sector employment. Okay, that's one thing. That's my military goals. Number 2, tax code reform. I'm talking about tear it down and start over. I don't like
2 miles ahead,
this
take ramp to I-64 East.
demographic less way of taxing everybody. So if you make $150,000 a year in California versus $150,000 a year in Texas, you have the same rate. Okay, even though $150,000 in California doesn't mean the same as $150,000 in Texas. Okay? 2, there are ways to get out of paying it. I don't care who you are, there's ways to get out of paying taxes, income taxes. You can be too poor, and you won't pay any income taxes. And we think, man, that sure is a great social thing to do for people, right? Okay. Then you want to punish the rich people for being rich. And then you want to have all these other programs, tax, surtax, this tax, that tax, tax. Until eventually we're taxed enough already and we have a big party, right? We know what that means. We don't want to do that. We need a fair tax, a federal sales tax. And items like groceries, unprepared groceries, milk, butter, eggs, bread, meat, cheese, whatever. Ingredients for cooking, not your frozen lasagna. Ingredients for cooking, unprepared foods, not taxed.
1 mile ahead, take ramp to I-64 East.
So you have a federal sales tax. Items over X dollars can have a graduated federal sales tax. Okay? You buy an item that costs $75,000, not a house, like a boat, a car, okay? Something like that. Buy a liquid asset, okay? Non-real estate liquid asset. And instead of just tossing out numbers, instead of a 0.75% federal sales tax, you're going to pay a 1.5 federal sales tax on $75,000 or more, up to $150,000. And $150,000, maybe it's 3%. Then we jump up to $500,000, and we can graduate it. If you buy a $1 million yacht, you may end up paying a 10%
0.3 miles ahead,
federal
take ramp to I-64
sales
East.
tax. All right, so you get how this works. Now, homes. The first, you have your primary residence, the one you say, this is my primary residence. Standard, whatever the sales tax is. Okay. maybe there could be a nominal, additional percentage for real estate, maybe. Okay, again, some points, some details we can work out. For any properties, non-commercial, for any properties you purchase as an individual beyond that primary residence, there's a graduated federal sales tax. So that's where you're rich. Pay more because they are buying more expensive things and more of them. Okay. There's no loopholes in there. There's no loopholes. You buy something, you pay a sales tax. All right. Except if you're active duty military. And then some of the same limitations can apply even then. Okay? Who else pays now? Automatically. Because we don't require a social security number and filing taxes to pay, or filing
Take ramp tie
to pay taxes. Anybody who buys a taxable item or service, commodity, whatever, anybody, whether here legally or illegally, they contribute to the kitty. Okay? Period. You buy stuff, you're paying a sales tax. You're contributing. So, military, tax exemptions, and extended VA benefits, and extended transition programs from active duty to private sector employment. Okay, so military, big time military things. Number 2, fair tax, total reform. Number 3. Now this is important. Now you think that there's no way we can get enough money from a fair tax to pay for all the programs and all the responsibilities that federal government has. What if I told you that the federal government has too many responsibilities? Why is the federal government responsible for taking care of everybody's welfare? Why? That's just ludicrous. Let Texas take care of Texas welfare. Besides, who better knows and understands the welfare needs of Texans better than Texans and Texans? California doesn't. They don't care. All they care is that they're getting plenty of their cut. You know what? Let California and their broke budget ass take care of their own welfare. Let every state take care of their welfare. And if they need a state income tax to deal with it, so be it. Or they can work within the framework of their sales tax. Okay? You pay local and state sales tax, and in some states you pay the state income tax. That is how you deal with the programs that your state wants. You live in California, you petition your state government to get you welfare. Okay? And while you're at it, you can get all those homeless people put into homes. That's all you want to do anyways, put them in a home. You don't care about actually solving their problem. You think their problem is they don't have a home. That's only that's the death knell symptom that result of many other problems. So in order to achieve this, every department in my administration would have to bring to me justification for all the dollars they spend, line by line. And if we can work a way for it to go back to each individual state, we'll work out a plan and we will funnel resources back to each state and get the federal government out of those particular businesses. Department of Education. What in the world does the Department of Education do? Maintain standards. I know, I heard you say it. Maintain standards. Have you seen the standards lately? Kids using Common Core math are now way below standards. What is the federal government doing mandating some standards to states for something which it was not granted powers in the Constitution, for which we can then either say, argue that it's granted to the state, but we can ultimately argue that education standards are ultimately the responsibility of the parents. Imagine that. Imagine, if you will. Think about it. A community, a group of parents goes to their local district school board and they tell the school board, this is the curriculum that we approve for our children. Not your children, they're our children. We're paying taxes for this stuff and we approve this budget. Imagine that. Imagine parents being active in the standards of education our kids are receiving. Not the state, not the county, but the community. Parents. What's wrong with that? Why do we need a Department of Education? Grants? Oh, let me tell you something about grants. There are probably tons of grants that by executive order would be canceled. We don't need to see how often a rat goes to the bathroom, or if you can train a snail to use a toilet, or if sea cucumbers can be pickled, or whatever the stupid stuff is. Those things. So you see what happens. You say, well, fair tax can't support the kind of budget that our federal government needs. Our federal government needs to support a military for defense of the land. Our federal government needs to provide security for the border. Our federal government directs for economic purposes and infrastructure. Three things. There's probably a few other things, but really, when you start boiling away all the things that states should be taking care of, then you're really left with so little that the federal government is responsible for, you'd almost forget that it was even there. Big, heavy bureaucracies, either gone or, you know what, we're gonna send those bureaucracies out to the states, and the states can either keep them or do something else with them. We're done with it. Okay? One last thing, number 4, something if I could manage, I would figure out how to get rid of the Federal Reserve. So those are my 4 big things. If I were given the opportunity to be in office, those are the 4 big things. 3 big things. 4, if I could manage it, I would. That might be a second term item. But I've learned a lot what Trump has done. Some things not to do, some things to do. But everything I would do is, at least for the sake of the taxes, to simplify. And it would actually help people keep more money. There would be incentive to actually save their money. You don't get taxed until you buy something. You're not punished just for going to work. So that economically would make for a very strong economic base. The consumer is the economic base. It would also help companies. Because they would be paying a sales tax as well. So, big help would be cutting all those major budget items, and the bureaucracies would have to come in and line by line item by line item, justify. Okay? Now, as part of that program, I'm going to go back to this, because as part of that program, I would push for Congress to enact the annual Budget Conference Act. Okay? 3 months prior to the beginning of the new fiscal year. Okay? 3 months. Okay? We got 3, 2, 1. That first month. All of your budgets need to be in by the end of that first month. The sooner they get in, the sooner the process starts. You have, let's say you have, 500 line items for your bureaucracy. Whatever order you put those in, we go down the line. Okay? At the end of that 3 months, by the time we start the next fiscal year, whatever line items have been justified and approved are the only line items you get your budget for. If it takes too long to get things justified, guess what? it's too complicated, and you probably didn't need it. I think that it would be reasonable to have some sort of provision for emergency issues, emergency line items, to deal with that. But what you do is you look at your line item and say, you know what? We didn't even use this line item. We got it approved last year and we didn't even use it. Guess what? That line item should go at the bottom of the list. You probably won't get there. The second part of your line items, let's say you used $100,000 for one of the line items. Next time you come in with that line item, you need to remove 0.1% from it. Every year you figure out how to bring that in at 0.1% less every year until it gets to the point where you just can't. Okay? So what ends up happening is you see these year after year, you see these budgets start shrinking. And what ends up happening? You have a smaller national, but smaller budget footprint for the entire government. Bureaucracies start getting smaller. Imagine that. If bureaucracies got smaller, better yet, started going away. Now, we can start seeing how this fair tax code would work. In fact, I think it could be brought down to such a level that every 7th year there would be no sales tax. Just saying. I think it can be done. So, those are my points. Again, if I were given a term in office, then those would be the things that I would be pushing for. As soon as we start having budget we have more money than we're spending, we can start paying down the deficit. $22 trillion is the first thing. Is I would sign an executive order saying right here, right now, we do not add anything that increases our deficit. Period. You figure out how. You justify it, and then you've got to go to other people because you're going to have to figure out how to borrow money from them, and you're going to have to justify it to them why they have to give up some of their budget for your issue. That's the way it would work. That's what I would do. Y'all have a great day. God bless. Mormon 2024.